All right, another breaking news development coming in. This time it seems a relief for Ansal brothers from Delhi court in connection with the Uphaar fire tragedy that had taken place in the 1990s. In the evidence tampering case, in fact, Delhi's Patiala House Court has said that due to advanced age, we are releasing Ansal brothers on the imprisonment already undergone. That's a development coming in from Patiala House Court of Delhi in connection with the Uphaar fire tragedy. In fact, the case related to tampering of evidence, and the Ansal brothers have got some relief, being let off on the grounds of age. And the Delhi court has reduced the sentence of Gopal Ansal and Sushil Ansal, the two brothers, and other convicts to the period undergone in the case. They had challenged the conviction of sentence of 7 years, and some part of which they had already spent behind bars, it seems. And now the court has accepted that whatever period they have spent in jail, that suffices given their age. So Ansal brothers, Gopal Ansal and Sushil Ansal, both having been punished in connection with the Uphaar fire tragedy in the Uphaar cinema, when about 100 people had lost their lives because the cinema caught fire and there were no escape routes proper. And it was a huge tragedy when it happened in Delhi. And Ansal brothers having been convicted earlier, now a Delhi court being little lenient on them. We have a victim, Neelam Kohli, Neelam Krishnamurthy. We have a victim, someone from the victim family, Neelam Krishnamurthy. Welcome, and please tell us, how would you respond to this court order, which is giving some relief to the Ansal brothers and sort of waiving off their remaining term? Neelam Krishnamurthy ji, if you can tell us, please, how would you react to the Patiala House Court being... Yes, please.
Yes, today's judgment has been very disappointing. I'm reminded of 19th August 2015, when the Supreme Court had allowed Ansals to walk free by paying a fine of 60 crore. The session judge today has repeated the history again. Just because they're rich and powerful, he does not see how serious the offense is. They're actually encouraging the people to tamper with the evidence, and it's actually gone, the message has gone. The law of the land is not the same for rich and powerful. My own experience with the judiciary today, it is not meant for ordinary citizens. It is only meant for giving relief to the rich and mighty. So an ordinary citizen in this country should not even make an attempt to come to the courts to seek justice. My faith in the judiciary was restored on 8th of October 2021, when the CNN Pankaj Sharma convicted these people and set them behind bars. But the session judge Dharmesh Sharma has let us down. After giving us a hearing, after upholding the conviction, he has allowed them to walk free. If this judgment is absolutely compromised, and the judge had no business to give them a period undergone. They do not realize the pain that the people have undergo when they come to the court and stand here for hours together. 25 years of my life I've spent in the court, and I've been deprived justice. I want to ask the CJI, Chief Justice of India, when he said injustice will lead to anarchy. I think he's absolutely right, and that's what I need to do. I said in 2015, I should have picked up a gun and shot these people. Yes. And I say that again today. I made a biggest mistake of coming to the court.
Ma'am, we absolutely empathize with your anger and sentiment. But do you still have some legal recourse left?
Well, there's a legal recourse of filing an appeal. And when the victims file an appeal and the High Court takes decades for the appeal to be heard, when it is for the accused, the appeal was heard within no time. I want to know, the bigger question here is, how many accused are languishing in jail after the first conviction? Were they given such an early hearing for their appeal? Why a special treatment to the Ansals? Why the appeal has been heard so early? That is my question. And when I file an appeal, I'm quite sure they'll hear it after 10 years. By the time I won't be alive also. You know that? legal system works.
Ma'am, also, ma'am, were you represented during the hearings through your counsel? And did,
Yes, of
did
course,
he
I
or
was
she make a
represented.
strong case for not releasing the brothers?
Yes, of course we did. I myself addressed the court and I told them. I also addressed the judge. And I told them how serious the offense was.
Oh,
and
you
how
also
these
addressed the
people have-
judge?
Yes, even I addressed the judge myself today. Because this is highly disappointing, you know. This is not how the system should work. I think it's time the courts should close down because the courts are there to deliver justice to the victims. And if you cannot deliver justice to the victim, it's an absolutely accused-centric system that we have. So they should close down the court. Let people go on committing crime and get away with murder. I would suggest, I will actually request all the victims in this country not to have any expectations from our judicial system. It's a sham, absolute sham.
Ma'am, since you were there in the court today, have you been given an opportunity to file an appeal, and pending that appeal, the accused not be released, or they would be released irrespective of your appeal?
Nobody to give me an opportunity to file the appeal or no, it's my right. But unfortunately, there's no point in filing appeal because they've already been out on, now they've been released. And obviously, the appeal, the lawyers will never be available. Who are available now when the clients were behind bars. And none of the judges will object to it, and they will very conveniently give them adjournment.
Right. Our executive editor, Legal and Governance Affairs, also joins us, Ridham Anand Bharadwaj. Ridham, a lot of angst and anger amongst the victims, as amplified by Ms. Neelam Krishnamurthy there. If you can join in, and Ms. Krishnamurthy suggests that the system is so loaded against the victims that she has a sense of helplessness on today's verdict.
Well, absolutely. This is something, Abhishek, we've been seeing over the years when Neelam Krishnamurthy, Shekhar Krishnamurthy have been knocking on the doors of the country for the longest time. Whether it was going to the Supreme Court, whether it is now a sentence coming where their sentence has been cut, these people were for the longest time trying to ensure that the real estate tycoon Sushil Ansal, Gopal Ansal, who had challenged their conviction and the 7-year jail term for tampering with evidence in a case related to the 1997 Uphaar cinema fire case, have today been given relief. Now remember, this is a case, Abhishek, which you and I have covered over the years, where 59 people lost their life. Even senior advocate Vikas Pava, who appeared for the association earlier, I've seen KTS Tulsi appear in the case, Mr. Salve make an appearance in the case. The court was told that 20,000 pages of 9 hand-picked critical documents that related to Sushil and Gopal Ansal and others were either mutilated, destroyed or obliterated. The ultimate result was not just restricted to tampering of evidence, but also to secure the acquittal of Sushil Ansal and Gopal Ansal and H.S. Panwar is what had been argued. The case, of course, we all remember is related to the tampering with the evidence in the 1997 fire tragedy case, where they were convicted and sentenced to 2 years in jail earlier by the top court of the country. The Supreme Court had, however, released them earlier on the period already undergone on a condition that they paid 30 crore fine each, to be used for building a trauma center in the national capital. There were others who had been convicted, but I want to go across to details coming from our colleague Sambhav, who says that the court had said we have to consider their age. So it is on age grounds today that Judge Dharmesh Sharma passed the order, and as we're trying to get the copy of the order, we'll also say the court has said Delhi's Patiala House Court reduces the sentence to the period undergone in the case, saying we have to consider their age. Even as we're going to try and speak to the lawyers, we're going to try and speak to the victim's kin, they are definitely feeling a sense of huge loss right now, because this is a battle they've been fighting, Abhishek, in several courts of the country. Earlier, we also remember, Abhishek, the Delhi court had upheld the conviction of the Ansal brothers, but it is saying it is now going to be to the sentence that they've already undergone. This was upheld on the conviction of Gopal Ansal, Sushil Ansal in connection, like I said, with the tragedy. And even as this was happening, I remember the Magistrates Court on November 8th last year had said and given them this term for tampering evidence. It took the longest time, I remember, when it came to Neelam Krishnamurthy, Shekhar Krishna. Yes, Abhishek.
I mean, just an interesting question. I mean, I was going through these papers and about 20,000 pages, either torn, removed, mutilated, some of them very critical documents. It must have been a massive operation, Rhythm.
Well, absolutely. That is exactly what Vikas Pava, who appeared for these people before the court, had said. These were critical documents, like you mentioned. It was about those people and about how there were lapses in security at that time, Abhishek. And there was chaos, I remember. We also reported from the site of Uphaar fire tragedy at the cinemas itself much later, where we saw what had happened. There were people who were distraught. They were coming to the courts. And I remember the Uphaar Tragedy Association always trying its best to ensure that these people were finally given some sort of sentence. That sentence came much later. Yesterday, in fact, the city court upheld the conviction of the barons in the evidence tampering case. So yesterday what had happened was the Delhi's Patiala court had said yes, there was evidence tampering. We agree that there was evidence tampering. District Judge Dharmesh Sharma had upheld the conviction of the others also yesterday, and the court had said that we will hear tomorrow arguments that are challenging their quantum of sentencing. So today was only fixed for quantum of sentencing. No one is doubting today, Abhishek, that Ansals had tampered with the evidence. The court upheld that only on grounds of their age. Today the court has said we are going to reduce this sentence. I also remember the magistrate court saying they had attacked the very purity. Yes, Abhishek.
One more question, only in February this year, the High Court in fact refused to suspend the sentence. And now we have a lower court actually, if you look at it, waiving off some part of the term that was slapped on them. So the victims obviously can go in and appeal and knock the doors of the High Court now?
Well, there was a sessions court, Abhishek, before which the Ansals had challenged their conviction order of 20th-21 December 3rd, refusing to suspend their sentence. They moved to the Delhi High Court, but the sentence was upheld. You're absolutely right. Now they've moved to the lower court. There will be the public prosecutor and others who argued in the case who will say that this case brought a bad name to the well-tested criminal justice delivery system, but also eroded the confidence and trust of the common man in it. And that really is what this is about. Whether it's this case, whether it's the Nitish Katara case, these cases and these people have become legendary for the way they've been fighting in the corridors of power and the legal corridors, Abhishek, to try and get justice. Today, what is happening is once again going to be put to test on the test of the common man whose trust has once again been eroded.
Right. Thank you so much, Rhythm. On the one hand, we have long arms of the law, and on the other, we have long gestation period before we get justice in the courts. I think the victims obviously would knock at the doors of the higher courts. So moving on.